Hi everyone, welcome to the year 2021. I hope you're having a good 2021 and I hope we're able to get over the tire fire that was the year 2020. In this video, I'm going to be talking about some of the things that I personally am learning and not learning in the year 2021. I'm in fact going to do a review video of this in the year 2022 in January, where I'm actually going to look at what I actually ended up learning and not learning. I have a very specific set of things that I want to learn and not learn for this year as well, and I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to talk about some of the motivations behind that in this video. First of all, let me give you a little bit of a background on why I am doing this, in the sense that why am I choosing to learn certain things and choosing to not learn certain things. So a little bit about me: I am an information security professional. I head out an application security company called V45. We are in multiple countries, and I do a lot of breaking and building applications. Especially today, my role has moved more from breaking apps, which is mostly penetration testing and security testing, to more DevSecOps, automation, cloud security, Kubernetes, and so on and so forth. So that's really where I'm coming from. I do a lot of coding as well, which is essentially building our serverless stack and building our apps on the cloud. So I have a little bit of that motivation in mind as well when I'm making my list of things to learn and not learn in the year 2021. So keep that in mind before we actually get into my lists per se. Let me get started with what I'm not learning in 2021. Now, one of the first things that I wanted to, in fact, last year I was really thinking about doing a lot more of this, was looking at assembly and malware and reversing. I do understand a little bit of this, but I'm not really that comfortable with this. So I wanted to kind of do a lot more with this. But the way my work is going and the kind of work I've been doing, especially around cloud and Kubernetes and things like that, I don't think I'll be able to give this a lot of time. So I think I'm going to have to put that on the back burner for now and see whether I get back to it a little bit later. The other thing that I also don't want to take up this year. Last year, one of the things I was looking for was an alternative to Python. I used to write a lot of code in Python. I still do write a lot of code in Python, but I wanted to make sure that I have an alternative, something that's probably a little better for more speed-driven use cases, much more easy to work with in terms of binaries and things like that. So I was considering all of these languages, Julia, Nim, VLang, Elixir, and so on. All of them are great languages, no doubt, but I don't think I'm going to pursue them anymore simply because I like Go and I've kind of gotten a decent amount of comfort with Go. So I'm not going to be messing around with this at least this year. Probably want to take it up next year and focus on it next year. Same with Rust. I started off really interested in Rust, but I feel that I found it a little difficult to understand. The learning curve was a little steep. I'd already gotten a little bit good at Go, so I decided, you know what, let's not take up Rust this year. And of course, PHP, for obvious reasons. I'm not going to do it simply because PHP, I don't enjoy working with the language, and I find that the language is getting less, I would say, probably less important over time. Although I know I'm going to piss off a lot of people, I definitely think that PHP as a language is getting less important in comparison with some of these other languages. Nothing against PHP or nothing against PHP developers, but I don't enjoy working with the language, so I'm not going to focus more of my energies on PHP this year is what I'm thinking about. So these are the things that I'm planning to not focus on over the course of this year. Now let's focus on things that I do want to do actually, right? So in this case, I've been writing a lot of Go. The reason I wrote a lot of Go last year was because I wrote a lot of CLI applications, and Go was great for it. In fact, if you look at my project, which is Threat Playbook, where I wrote the CLI in Go, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the experience of writing Go code. I thought I would enjoy writing Rust code as well, but I did not. So I think I'm going to focus on getting better at Go this year because I feel it's a lot more easy to work with. I find it to be much more intuitive, kind of closer to Python, although it has very different goals and very different ways of doing things. I still want to focus on getting better at Go. So I want to consolidate my knowledge on Go and get better at Go. I also want to start experimenting with WASM. I did a little bit of experimentation with WebAssembly, but I did not go deep into it in 2020. But this year I want to get much better at WebAssembly. And I'm going to try and use these two languages to write my WebAssembly code, as always, of course, with JavaScript as the language that's going to put it all together. I also want to focus on eBPF this year simply because I feel that eBPF is becoming a more and more influential technology in the container space. I want to focus on that with containers. I want to focus on the ability to create much more secure container experiences with eBPF, much more secure application sandboxing experiences with eBPF perhaps. So I'm going to look at those things. The reason I've put these two on the list, although I'm not much of a Microsoft guy, I've never been much of a Microsoft guy, to be honest. I've largely focused on web apps and mobile apps and things like that. So Microsoft is I've kind of not done that, right? A lot of red teamers would find this incredibly difficult to understand. Red teamers kind of thrive on Microsoft stacks, but I have kind of stayed away from it. So this year I kind of want to level up my knowledge on Active Directory, especially with Azure and things like that. I want to better my knowledge of PowerShell simply because I feel that PowerShell is going to be very, very important moving forward, especially with Azure. I want to get much better at Azure. I do have a decent amount of knowledge on the serverless side, the container side, the Kubernetes side of Azure, but I definitely want to pick up my skills on these two fronts. And I'm not ashamed to admit that I have no clue about C#. This is something that has evaded me. I've kind of never looked at C# and .NET as a stack, although I should have, perhaps. I'm going to probably take a little bit of time to learn that this year. May not be too much in depth, just to build some basic applications and some labs. I think mine is more functional and requirement driven than anything else. I'm not going to become a rockstar C# developer and an ASP.NET developer. I'm just going to focus on writing some secure labs for AppSec classes and so on. The other one, I'm kind of jumping on the bandwagon with this one, which is more TypeScript. I want to focus a lot more on TypeScript this year because I feel that it gives JavaScript a lot more structure and I like the way TypeScript does certain things. So I want to focus a lot more on TypeScript this year. I want to focus on writing a lot more TypeScript examples and TypeScript code. And that's something that I'm going to be focusing on both from my front-end development perspective and back-end development perspective. I want to kind of change over from JS to TS simply because I feel that it gives me better control over the code, and I like that. This is something that has evaded me for a while, FaunaDB. I have generally, while it looks amazing and it seems to be able to do a lot of things, I have not been able to give it the kind of time I think it needs. I need to learn a specific language called FQL for FaunaDB. So I've not kind of gotten around to figuring that out yet. So I'm going to try and check that out and see if I can do something better with it. And I'm going to try and use it. I love serverless databases. I love DynamoDB simply because I don't have to think about provisioning it, sharding it, and all that stuff. I can just hook up my application, get it going. I like that same experience with FaunaDB. I've not seen that in any other database except DynamoDB. I could be wrong. Obviously, my knowledge of databases is restricted to what I already know, but I have not seen that experience with anything other than FaunaDB and DynamoDB, the kind of serverless, without having to worry about elasticity, without having to worry about provisioning servers and things like that. These two are the databases that have really impressed me. I'm really good at DynamoDB, I have to say at this point, but I'm not good at FaunaDB, and I really want to get better at it because I feel that it has some aggregations and analytics possibilities that DynamoDB definitely does not have. So that's something that I want to focus on this year as well. If you like this video, click on that like button and consider subscribing to this channel. I'm going to be posting a lot of my personal stuff this year on YouTube, especially around learning and cybersecurity and application security and cloud security and all of that stuff. So I look forward to seeing you in another video. Thanks for watching.